high-risk investment. Trading on margin carries a high level of risk, and may not be suitable for all investors. Before deciding to trade, you should carefully consider your investment objectives, level of experience, and risk appetite. The possibility exists that you could sustain a loss of some or all of your initial investment, and therefore you should not invest money that you cannot afford to lose. You should be aware of all the risks associated with trading, and seek advice from an independent financial advisor if you have any doubts. Market opinions. Any opinions, news, research, analyses, prices, or other information contained on this video is provided as general market commentary, and does not constitute investment advice. Master the Markets will not accept liability for any loss or damage, including without limitation to, any loss of profit, which may arise directly or indirectly from use of or reliance on such information.
Okay, traders, so welcome to our webinar for today on the live trading webinar with Trade Guider, Master the Markets and Trade Guider, doing it on price and volume, traders. That's what we're going to be doing today, on price and volume. You've heard us before. In fact, the last time when we did it was on NinjaTrader, is raking over 7,100 views. Even Gavin, when he has done it, there's over 28,000 views. So it's really getting very popular, this whole thing of price and volume, on how we have actually quantified this both methodologies. Today, we're going to be taking a look more closer at live markets and how we analyze it. I mean, Gavin, just a quick intro from you as well, so that all the viewers watching in live from the webinar, as well as from the YouTube live, as well from all our channels and from all over the world. It'd be great for them to hear a quick intro from you as well. And
Hello, everybody.
Yes, background. Yeah.
Welcome to you all. Looking forward to being with you today. I nearly wasn't. I'm recovering from COVID, unfortunately, and my wife and my family have got it. So, but anyway, if I lose my voice, that's the reason why. But I'm not going to, because there's so much going on in the markets. I'm going to be showing you a really good trade setup today using volume spread analysis and the SMI indicator combined. And it's a trade on Tesla that's setting up right now. So we will look at various markets. I've worked with Tiru now for a number of years, and we're very selective about who we work with. But you'll see today the two methodologies work side by side. They really do. And you know, Tiru and I traded live at the London Traders IX Expo. We both trades. We both made money. We're going to explain to you today some of the setups that we use, that I'm using at the moment in the hedge fund, which is Wyckoff Williams Investments Gibraltar Limited. I'm a fund manager there, and yeah, we've got a lot to share with you today, so we're looking forward to it. And at the end of it, I've written 2 books. I'm going to give you all a copy, a download link, which you can share online, I don't mind, of my first book called Trading in the Shadow of the Smart Money, and that's all about volume spread analysis. So we're looking forward to this. Tiru, back over to you.
Great, Gavin. Thank you so much for that nice intro from Gavin. It's always good to be working with Gavin and his team, because we have seen how the methodologies are getting more stronger with the whole combination with the volume. So let me get on with it. We are just with a previous client just now, and we're looking at the S&P futures, and I'll show you some real-time positions that we are taking as well, and also on the Tradiac challenge. But before I show you all of that, I just want to show you a little bit about how we look at the markets and understand our methodology. So here we got is the S&P futures, what we got. Gavin, I mean, is there any particular instruments you want to take a look at, or shall I start with the S&P futures?
Well, I will show some trades that I'm in at the moment, but a really good chart to pull up is going to be Tesla on the daily stock chart. That's a really good VSA and SMI setup that's appeared.
So let me just start off with Tesla then. Let me just bring up Tesla over here, and then we can go live into the analysis. Now, if there's any instruments that the webinar attendees are looking at on YouTube Live, if you guys want us to look at anything, if you can just type into the chat box, we can definitely take a look at that for you. And you can see how these methodologies are cross-transferable onto any instrument and any time frame. So let me bring up Tesla over here. I'm just doing this on TradingView at the moment. Tesla here, that's the one over there. That's on the daily chart, what we're taking a look at. Really good setup over here, what we are seeing. I'll show you what we are looking at, and I'm sure that Gavin will be looking at something similar. I'll start off with the higher time frame, then we'll drill down into the lower ones. Maybe I can even start with I'll start off with the weekly. Now you see, traders, I mean, a simple thing what we usually do, first of all, we define trend and we define phase. That's the first thing we usually will start off with, okay? Now in here, what you can see is that the trend over here, it's a downtrend, as you can see. Now, I can say it's a downtrend on a quantified basis because of the smart money indicator, what you can see over here, right? The orange and blue arrows. We've quantified what the top and bottom is. And this work has started from the 1960s from the quant traders. So that's how we have this quantified formulas. Now, for some of you who are not sure, some of the terminologies we're using over here, do not worry. Later on, me and Gavin will give you some free videos and ebooks to look at to get used to the terminologies. But just follow me so far. I'll give you a brief skeleton, okay? So over here, we've got a quantified tops and bottoms. So what I can do is, from a quantified basis, everybody in the classroom, even if it's 1,000 people, 5,000 people, they will say the same answer because we got it quantified according to the formula. So I can convert this into a line diagram. You can see it's a downtrend over here, right? And in that downtrend, you can see it's lower lows and lower highs on the weekly time frame. So I'll just write that there here. Weekly time frame is a downtrend. That's my trend. And as of now, you can see the orange arrow and the orange dot. The top is confirmed. So this is what we call a top to bottom move. Okay. So downtrend, since it's a top to bottom move, is going down as well. It's in alignment with the trend. So we call it phase 1. Okay. Downtrend phase 1. Okay. So now let me go on to the lower time frame even more further. Daily time frame, and we can drill it down, and you can see how these principles will stand true in any time frame. Okay, and then we will start to analyze and see what bias of position we will start to take a look at. Now here on the daily, you can see that if I convert that into a line diagram again, it was in an uptrend before. Then when it took out this level here, came down all the way, that's when it did downtrend phase 1 again, right? So all the way here up to here, phase 1. Now, you see, the thing is, if you don't even do the simple basic thing, and that's what Gavin will explain later as well, that's when the common public gets slaughtered. They think it's all nice and rosy. They keep buying it here. They keep buying it near to the top, not sure what's going on. And then they get this big move down and the whole structure is changed. Okay. Now, over here, when this bottom got confirmed, now that's a phase 2 at the moment. This top hasn't confirmed yet. So as of now, traders, this is a downtrend phase 2, okay, on the daily time frame. Now let me drill down further onto the 4-hour, and then we will then put the volume and the VSA light on there. In fact, I'll just put the VSA light straight away. The VSA light is also confirming with the red dots on the downtrend side. We are seeing some trigger lines coming through as well. We will talk about that more later on. On the 4-hour, you can see that. Now, quite a couple of clients on a glance, when they have seen up, we will drill into this a bit more further if you got more time later. But when you combine the VSA light, the volume, with the price indication, it becomes very, very powerful. Okay, we'll see if we get time to talk more about that later on. Over here, as you can see, in the downtrend move over here, now it did a bottom here where we got a downtrend phase 2 on the 4-hour. Now, traders, watch this, right? This is important. The top got confirmed. It was a phase 1, but as of now, in this 4-hour, right, it is doing what we call, this is not a trend yet because it hasn't taken out the last high, hasn't taken out the last lows. So this is what we call a compression. So it's neither in any trend according to a trend definition. This is in a compression. You see how quantification of tops and bottoms helps you define the trend and the phase with precision for analysis later. So the 4-hour is in a compression. Now, here is what Gavin and his trade guided team usually will call this a test, right? Now the analysis then must come is, will that test stand to hold this bottom and turn the trend on the 4-hour, which we can call a ripple, and will that ripple hold on to make a swell on the daily, and then finally a wave on the weekly and change the trends upwards onto the higher time frames? So the analysis really comes when we put the volume and the price usually to, is the lower time frame going to lead or the higher time frame going to stand strong and lead its trend? This is what you guys must be constantly asking. If you can do the analysis right and answer these two questions and put the probabilities to your favor of whether the lower time frame is going to lead or the higher time frame is going to lead, then traders, you can really capture the ripple on a smaller time frame and ride the move onto the bigger time frames. That's where big money is made. That's what smart money does. That's what millionaire traders do. Okay, and professionals like us, we are looking at and doing. So let me drill a bit more further down onto the 1 hour and the 15-minute, and then we'll put into perspective of how we formulate then strategies around this. Okay, so then on the 1 hour here, on the 1 hour time frame here, you can see that that's an uptrend, but as of now, it took that structural failure, and here it's a downtrend phase 2. Okay, right. Then finally, on the 15-minute, and I'll stop at the 15-minute here. What do we have on the 15-minute? I'll wait for it to populate up. And in terms of the 15-minute, we had a compression here, as you can see, but took out the high. So as of now, on the 15-minute, that's an uptrend phase 1. Okay, right. So now we got all the data analysis here. So now let's take a look at what we have gathered. Okay, this is a Tesla chart. This is the first step we always do. We define the trend, we define the phase. It's easier for us to do it on a quantified basis because we got the tops and bottoms quantified. Okay, right. So let me take a look now. So on the weekly, what we had was a downtrend phase 1, right? So it looks like that. So let me draw it all out. On the daily, you got also a downtrend. You got a downtrend phase 2, right? Over here. Now on the 4-hour, you got a compression, which is what we saw, like this. It's a test, right? The compression on the 4-hour. And then on the 1 hour, we got a downtrend phase 2, right? Like this. And on the 15-minute, we had this, didn't we? Let me just erase that one off. On the 15-minute, what we had, traders, was this, right? So we had a compression and then it took off like that. That is our entire picture here on the 15-minute here. So now we got to sit down with this analysis and ask ourselves, okay, first of all, what kind of a strategy am I trading? And what entry am I going to do? And what exit am I going to do? I'm just only going to talk about only one, give you an example of one strategy, because if you talk about thousands of strategies, you'll be here all day long, and we don't have the time length as well for that. Let me tell you a simple one, and I'll pass on to Gavin for his views and opinions on this as well, and I'll put the volume on there as well. Actually, I'll put the volume straight away here as of now. I'll put the trade guider one as well. Let me just get rid of. I'll do that in a minute. Let me just put that one very quickly here. Trade guider VSA, relative volume. That should come up in a minute. There you go. Perfect. Now, I'll just give you one example on one strategy. So if I were to do a combination of 3 time frames, the 4-hour, daily, and weekly, how will I read this? The question is this downtrend going to end on the weekly, end on the daily, and the 4-hour going to take over? to get a trend change and a big right move. How do I answer that question? I'll go on to the weekly first. The first thing I always take a look at, traders, the first thing I always take a look at is this. I take a look at, first of all, how many bottoms has it done in terms of its downtrend? It's done about 2. Okay. Usually what we have observed is, after about 2 weekly bottoms, the third one usually stands true. The third one is in the third confirmation bottom. Okay. As of now, this is a potential bottom what we are having here in real time. Let me just erase that one away. This one here, we got a third potential bottom here. Will this hold or not is the question for it to then turn up and take out the high and then change its trend. Where do we get the clue from? We get the clue, but the first question to ask is, will this potential bottom hold to then later go up to make a blue dot according to our quantified structure and the bottom gets confirmed? That's the first step in its rise. Where do we get the clue from? We go on to the daily then. And we also now take a look at the daily, how many bottoms has it done as well? Because remember, no trend can keep on going forever, right, traders? Yeah. So you see, over here, I mean, it's not really true to say that not trend can go on forever. I mean, there are some which goes on for a very long time. But that's why we got our risk management in place as well. Over here on the daily, however, we only got one bottom here, but it's done a compression, okay? And it's holding its bottom. So let's see if it holds that bottom and is going to confirm or carry on with its downtrend phase 1 or not. But in terms of this, there's a higher probability that it could make another bottom. But let's not make our full analysis yet, but let's go on to the 4-hour, right? Let's go on to the 4-hour. And on the 4-hour here, what we are seeing here is this compression. And this is a really, really good setup, what we have seen. If these compressions, when the bottom gets confirmed, but that's a compression. The question here is, can that compression stand strong, that bottom here? Now, that bottom here is also your weekly bottom. So let me just put a horizontal line here, right? So that bottom there is also your daily bottom here, right? And the question to ask is that daily bottom going to hold and make that weekly bottom carry on? That's the question. Because of the quantified structured framework, because we quantified the tops and bottoms from the work of the quants in the 1960s, we are able to have this and talk of precision here. So the question now is, can this compression carry on further to take out that high? That's the first step of strength of a trend change. The 4-hour will then turn into an uptrend phase 1. And will that carry on true to confirm the bottom on the daily and the weekly and finally to change the trend? That is the question. But we got a good price pattern setup to go with first, because once it does a compression, that's when we know that there could be a ripple that could stand its strength to become a swell on a wave on the higher time frames. But our analysis doesn't stop there. We combine that with the volume analysis too. And as far as I can see over here, you can see some volume spikes already happening over here. At this bottom here, over there, all going above the relative line over here. You can see smart money is starting to buy that bottom along with a price action setup. That's when we get confident, according with this analysis, that there's a higher probability that this bottom is going to hold. But of course, we still use risk management, right? Because nothing is for guaranteed. Nobody has got a crystal ball, but we can only put our probabilities to our side, okay? That's on mine, but of course, Gavin will give you a more full analysis with the volume as well. Now, Gavin, over to you on to marry it all up and the analysis here on what you think so far.
Okay, brilliant. Well done. That was very to the point and concise. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the screen and I'll show you. Let me just. Okay, here we go. And just let me know, Terry, when you can see my chart of Tesla. Can you all see that? I think, yeah. You can see that, right, Terry?
No, I can definitely see it. I can definitely see it. Yes.
Yeah, okay. Perfect. Okay, leaving time. Right. So first of all, Tesla, okay, daily chart. This is a stock that I've been trading for years. Obviously, Elon Musk is very much behind this. I'm even thinking of buying a Tesla once they sort out the charging points here in the forest, because I live in the middle of the New Forest National Park. Now, I want to show you a setup that's happening right now, because everyone likes to see something that's happening right now. And it happened over here, which is where I bought into here. Now, I'm using the SMI indicators, which you can see there. One appeared only a few days ago. So I was able to go to an hourly chart and I traded this intraday. And we can see here what happened. On the earnings report, right? The earnings report was terrible, right? It was a surprise. But then look at the volume spike. So when I refer to volume spread analysis, we're looking at three things on a chart to decide if the smart money, which is what my book's about, which I'm going to give you all a copy at the end. So stay online. And if you're watching this on YouTube on the recording, if you want a copy of Trading in the Shadow of the Smart Money, it's about 160 pages of charts, loads of analysis, trade setups like this. You can just email Trade Guider, all one word, Tango Romeo Alpha Delta Echo, Trade Guider Golf U India Delta Echo Romeo at outlook.com. Okay, that comes direct through to myself, well, to my wife. So this is one of Tom Williams' favorite setups, and it often happens on earnings reports. It's going to repeat itself. Now, there's a very key thing here, that we don't catch a falling knife, which is why Tiru's indicators are very good. You can see what happened over here, right, when that buying came in, all right, and then it was tested. Now, this is a very, very important lesson for today. And Tiru and I have put together a detailed mentorship course for up to 15 traders in March. And we're going to be trading this particular instrument because I trade it intraday. But when I saw so what the Trade Guider plugin, and we're using TradingView, but this is also built into NinjaTrader, TradeStation, multiple platforms. But today, just to keep it simple, we're going to use the TradingView platform, which I find to be very inexpensive. And I've got data for pretty much everything in the world. I see Mustafa's here. Hi, Mustafa. Yeah, I've got one of my colleagues that's going to be doing a mentorship program with me in the Middle East. And I'm looking forward to going out there and doing some live trading. But here, we've got the setup. That this is the guy that taught me to trade, who's now passed away, is the late Tom Williams, Tom George Williams. And he was a trader back in the mid-70s. And he retired a multi-millionaire when he was 40. And he developed this software program. And it's all based on a 1920s trader called Richard D. Wyckoff. And some of you will have heard of Wyckoff, and some of you won't have heard of Wyckoff. But what's important here is that when the trend is going down and we get some news coming out and you see the volume spike happening, you've got to say to yourself, if all that volume was selling, we would continue to fall. But the next bar closed up. And I'm going to talk a lot in the mentorship course about something called accumulation and distribution, because that's how the markets work. They're driven by three universal laws: supply and demand, cause and effect, effort versus result. That's it. That's what they're driven by. Now you look at the price action indicator, the SMI indicator, and if it's confirming the turning points, then you've got, like it did here, you can see the indicators going up. We've got the blue dot, and we'll explain this all to you today. But what's interesting now is what's going on at the right edge of the chart. Because if we go all the way to the right edge, we can see that we've got two of Tiru SMI indicators. We've got two of the VSA indicators. All right. The test is the opposite of what we call PB, which is potential professional buying. And this system will send you an email when what we call a change in behavior in market conditions has occurred. Meaning I want to see at least 4 of these, I call them diamonds, they're dots, and start to fill this gap. And at 200, I should be adding to the position. Now, let me show you on a small time frame. And I'll go for the hourly chart. And you can see here, it's now trying to push above, right, where this has happened. So down here, we had the change in behavior on the, in fact, today we've had the change in behavior as well. We can see it trying to attack it. It'd be great if I could get a live trade on this today, but we'll wait and see. Because I think gold is setting up, and we'll come to that. In fact, Tiru, that would be a good one for you to look at as well, the gold chart. But what we can see here is the dots have started to turn green. Now, what we want to do is take out where the old SMI indicator is saying price action is showing us a fall in price. You knew not to go long there because SMI hasn't confirmed it. But now, where you look at the SMI indicator here, with this in the background, and the software automatically marks out the top and the bottom of the bar. Because what you'll notice here is it's forming, the chart is forming like a saucer shape. Like all we need is to put a handle on it, and you've got a saucer. And so we see this type of behavior when an instrument is undergoing accumulation. Okay, this is just one of 27 stocks in Australia. We're going to be looking at in the mentorship program. We're going to be doing US, obviously the UK, European stocks. We'll cover any stocks that when you sign up for it, you can email me and say, could we have a look at this or that? It doesn't matter what market. I've got data for all markets. So before I hand back to Tiru, and then I'll just show you what I've seen in gold. Okay. All right. So weekly chart, all right, in gold. Now, first of all, we're in very tight ranges, but we do see an attempt to accumulate this. All right. And we are overall trending higher. But why is this market struggling to go up? And again, the SMI indicator picks up. We see here a very powerful setup. And that's where I originally shorted it. I was on YouTube. It's all posted, right? And you can see very clearly there. You have to go back a long way to see where the sellers came in. And if you turn that and that upside down, you'd have the complete opposite of what you... So you basically have, instead of potential hidden selling followed by no demand, and that collapsed for weeks. You'd have... if at the bottom, what I've just shown you on Tesla, potential professional buying followed by testing. And that's exactly how the markets work. So I like to intraday trade gold. And I know Tiru and I both particularly like trading the British pound, the currency, and we trade the gold. So as part of the mentorship course, we will be doing theory, but we'll also be doing live trading at the same time. Now, let me talk you through where I think this is going, and then we can go and have a look and see what Tiru thinks. Now, the thing that's happening at the moment is this bar here, which is called a reversal bar. And again, over here, right? The reason the market is struggling to go through this area is what's in the background. You can't, that potential hidden selling a couple of years ago is still present. There's still supply there. So how would you trade this? Like, for instance, we had a very big down move, okay, on Tuesday, okay? That was one of my favorite days to trade, Tuesdays. And as part of the mentorship program, we're doing 3 sessions on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then we're doing the live trading on the Tuesday, because you get the big moves. And I won't explain why, but I will do in the mentorship course. Here, we go down to the 4-hour chart, and we have what I refer to in my book as the gotcha bar. But why is gold falling? Look at the top here on the 4-hour chart. You've got a no demand bar after a test, and that's why it's collapsing. Widespread down bars. SMI confirming. SMI confirming. What is Trade Guider and SMI? What it is, it's your instrument panel. And I've used the analogy of the pilot getting in the aircraft. This is what we'll teach you. You do a checklist. The pilot always does a checklist. The first thing they do, I know because I'm mentoring a pilot at the moment, funnily enough, works for United Airlines. And he said, no, we always do a checklist, Gavin. We go walk around the plane when we arrive. We look for any damage to the external. Then we get in the cockpit and we get our checklist out. And we go through everything and tick the box. That's even before we start the engine. Then we start the engine. We taxi out to the runway. And when we're happy with everything and we get clearance, we take off. Trading is no different. If you apply that logic to your trading, which we'll teach you, you have the checklist, which I've got. You have the trading plan. I've got 4 different ones for different types of trading: stocks, futures, forex, and options trading. And when you've done your checklist, you then take off. That's it. In our case, you're pulling the trigger and saying, right, I've measured my risk. I've taken the trade. I'm going to take off. So finally, I'll show you what this looked like on my favorite time frame, which is the hourly bar. And we can see over here, that was the top. I know people have asked me, can Trade Guider and SMI pick the tops? Absolutely we can. But will you believe, the key to this trade was, as it started to take out this low, you can participate in that down move. And if you're trading size, like 5 or 10 lots, if you've got an account that size, that's a very profitable trade. And you stop, if you'd waited for that bar to close, would be just above there. Now, I'll show you the 2 other time frames that I'm going to be teaching. And I know Turu and I like these as well. The 15-minute chart. Okay? Look at the top. Look at the distribution that came in. You were warned there was about to be an impending collapse. And then you're warned that they're buying it back to support it. Look. Testing. This looks exactly like Tesla, but that's what I'd be waiting for on Tesla. And this could very much be what we call absorption volume, which is fairly bullish. And where it'll get stuck is up here somewhere at 2020. So Tiru, I'll hand back to you, and then you give me your view of what you're seeing here, because at the moment I took a great trade to the short side. And, we had a very similar situation when we were at the Traders Show. I took a gold trade there as well. A very, very similar trade setup to what we're seeing now. Okay, over to you, Turi.
That's great, Gavin. I mean, the good thing is, when I always observe all of this is how both the methodologies always come together and are saying the same things. Now, let me summarize it all for you guys, right? What we're actually saying over here. And I want you all to take away some few key points over today. One thing you definitely learned from us today was define trend, define phase, right? The other thing that you definitely should have taken from what Gavin was saying just now, and how actually the analysis on Tesla and his analysis is marrying up, is that look for the test pattern. You see, traders, let me actually go a bit deeper in this, right? In fact, in the Ninja Trader interview that we did in the mentorship, we'll go in this in more detail as well as what Gavin was saying. For those of you who haven't watched the Ninja Trader video, you can go and check it on their website as well. 7,600 views. We're talking about both price and volume over here, both Trade Guider and the SMI setup over there. So it's a lot of interesting points and very invaluable points that you're actually taking from here, which can be applied to any strategy. So listen in deep over here. The test over here, right? In all the research that we have done, is based on a couple of things, okay? Think about this, traders, yeah? When does smart money come in and how do they show their footprint? You see, especially in a downtrend, right? Nothing can change its trend immediately, is it not? It just doesn't seem logical. It's just like in a car. If a car keeps going down at 300 kilometers per hour, for it to turn its direction finally, you can't just turn it from such fast acceleration immediately to going to the opposite side at another equal acceleration or even more higher of 500 kilometers per hour. You just can't do that. You see, that is why these patterns will start to happen, which is after a downtrend, if smart money is starting to buy that, it will start to level off. But it won't take off immediately, but it'll start to slow its momentum and you'll start to do patterns like this. This is when, then of course, then all the popular literature which then comes out, which they call sideways market, compression, etc., and all of that. But what is missing in the literature online is, how do you identify a compression? How do you identify a sideways market? How do you combine the time frames together? And to what direction you take it? And most importantly, how long do you hold it for? How much move is left? We have solved a large part of the puzzle in the sense that we have quantified what the top and bottom is, so we can get the compressions and all of that. That's good. We can then, you can even then match it up to the patterns that you've learned, head and shoulders, you know, all these symmetrical triangles, you know, all these things you heard. The difference is you just quantified it, right? Because I can convert that into a line diagram. I can tell you precisely what kind of a pattern it is, quantified basis though, so that we can get validative stats. And out of this, then I'm going to show you how we are achieving the results and what gives us the conviction to even hold trades even through a drawdown. Okay, so hang in for that. I'm just going to pass on all the knowledge to you. So coming back to this, when a bottom is starting to hold, then you can start to see when it starts to fuzz around, right? You can start to see, hey, you know what? The car is going to turn around. The instrument is going to turn around. Smart money is coming in. And if it's backed by volume as well, then there's a larger chance that that bottom will be supported. And with this framework, we have made it simpler, saying that the question you really got to ask yourself is, if this 4-hour bottom on the Tesla, backed by volume that has come from before, all of this, and above the VSA relative line, if it is really true, according to this framework, the real question is what, traders? Is that will this 4-hour bottom hold to become a daily bottom? In other words, if I move the time frame up, will the daily bottom come? That means a daily dot will appear, which it has done. So you've got the first tick. And then if that daily bottom then holds, which is 174.60, will it become finally a weekly bottom? And then a weekly bottom is defined by this framework as a blue dot. So in this instance, if I go back to the weekly now, I want to see 174.60, which is the 4-hour bottom and the daily bottom. The 4-hour bottom, which is confirmed to become a daily bottom with a blue dot. Will it carry on further up to finally then become a blue dot and confirm that weekly bottom? If I get all of that aligning, then my analysis is right, and my early entry on the 4-hour using the volume and price is getting good. And I'm riding higher open equity, higher profit margins, because on the 4-hour, if you take a look, if you want precise entry, in fact, we've mentioned this in so many webinars in the Society of Technical Analysis talk that we got invited to. Gavin and I were there. We were showing both the indicators there too, Ninja Trader as well. Now we're getting invited by other organizations too. If you want precise entry and you want to get in really early, The key is reading the price and the volume effectively so that you can enter in even when the trend hasn't changed, which where we usually enter it is when the blue dot appears on the close of the blue dot, which we call the confirmation bar, which is roughly about 185.26. Okay, let me put that as a blue line over here, and you'll start to see what I'm coming to, and then we'll do a quick analysis on gold, and I'll show you the live positions running as well on these methodologies. So here on the 4 hour, you see what's going to happen now. So I'm writing all of this. I'm entering it here at 185.26 by analysis on the 4 hour with price and volume, entering it earlier based on this concept of 4 hour bottom becoming a daily bottom. Now I'm waiting whether it see if it become a weekly bottom. If it does, by the time the weekly dot appears, let's say at 208, but by using price and volume analysis, I would have entered it much more earlier for a bigger ride. Not only that, the final thing is what you got to understand is, now that you've understood how to use the framework to capture, just based on this concept of tops and bottoms on how the market moves, the nature of the market movement, because markets move in cycles, right? Once you've understood that, then the next thing then is, traders, if you can capture a 4 hour bottom which will hold to become a daily and a weekly, you can see that we can capture a bigger ride and a move much more earlier. Not only that, you can enter in much more earlier before even the trend change occurs. Because by the time the weekly dot appears, this will still be a downtrend phase too. But by reading price and volume, and once you're confident with it, that the bottom will still continue to hold, and with the earnings report, and with all the other fundamentals that you can marry up on top of it, you will have the confidence to hold it to take out this high over here at 270, right? Roughly around there. If I want to get exact on it, we are quant, so we like to get exact. So the high is 26513. Right, so if I were to do that, let me just move that a little bit here. 26513. Now, if that strength of that bottom holds, right, and if we were to change the trend, that will be the number, 26513. But remember, instead of just waiting until 26513 to get a trend change, by using all of this analysis, I can enter much more earlier at 185.26 using price and volume and using the smart money framework. Another thing, what I also want to mention, which I'm sure Gavin will mention in a bit as well, which is according to this framework, they're just not buy and sell signals. You have a framework, but still you have to use your knowledge to see which of those dots you want to enter on. The answer comes from trend and phases and from time frame correlation and marrying up with the volume, as you have seen over here in this live trade analysis that we are doing. Okay, and then I'm going to show you all the live trades that we are also running in terms of the traders accounts as well. Okay, right, so that's that one on the Tesla. Now let me do it on a quick analysis. Now, any questions or any takeaways that you're getting from, type into the chat box. We can all handle that later in the question and answer session. The other thing is, as Gavin already said, I mean, we'll be going through this much more in detail in the mentorship course as well, and how to construct. Remember, so far what we have talked about is just one strategy example of 4 time frames from a higher time frame. How do you use these principles to construct different types of strategies for different type of time frames and towards what type of objectives? All that, of course, requires much more detailed, in-depth discussions. Don't have the time for that, but in the mentorship, we will be talking more about that in detail. Quickly on gold, I think I'm just going to probably repeat what Gavin has looked at as well. Gavin, just a quick shout out from you. You know, on the gold, do you look at the gold? You look at the gold futures, don't you?
I trade the GC futures. You trade it on the CME group. Yeah.
Right. Let me just do that right quickly. Just GC, right?
Yeah.
That's the one.
Futures. Click on futures. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. Gold futures, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got that one there. I was hearing what Gavin was already saying. It's showing the same things over here. So on the daily, if you take a look very quickly on the trend and phase, you see again, traders is repeating itself. Look, so before, let me just do this, right? I mean, most of these concepts we cover in the 7 Steps to CTP video series. We'll give you all a link for that as well later on. But over here, if you can see, that's an uptrend, right? Over here, you see, this is the first time when it didn't take out that high, is when we call the compression started. Okay? There's no trend over here. Then, the next blue bottom that we got confirmed by this bar here, again didn't take out any of this high, any of this bottom or high. It's compressing further. So this is what we call an extended market compression. The first compression we always get is called a single market. Then the next one, it carries on compressing, is extended market compressions. Now, as you all know, based on concepts, is that whenever market starts to bottle up, kettle up, compress, logically out of anything, when it bursts out, there'll be a big move. So that's when some traders, all they do, right, they design just one strategy just to capture compression moves when they burst out, right? And they analyze it and they know where to enter. And they do all their research on that, okay? So compressions are really, really great points for you to start looking at. Now, the next thing, then what it then did, it did come out of the compression a little bit over here. Let me just zoom in now. And it started to show a little bit of a first sign of a little bit of a downtrend. But you see, you got to be very careful here, because this point here, where it takes out that low, I mean, some traders, without analyzing this properly, they will just jump in thinking, oh yeah, that's a downtrend, let me just go for it. But you got to be very careful here. Look at the up move that it did immediately after. You don't want to be taken out by what we call a shakeout, right? Is what Trade Guider and team also talks about as well. So you got to be very careful. That's when the 3 different time frames that you correlate with is very, very important, with the volume as well. Okay. So, but as of now, it did take out that low, right? Technically, yes, we call that a downtrend phase 1 according to this framework. But does that mean I take a trade? No, whether you take a trade or not is based on your strategy construction rules. Strategy construction rules, I don't have much time to go through in deep, but overview is it must have your really defined entry, stop loss rules, and target. Target, very important, where you're going to get out, right? So that's on the daily here. But on the weekly, as you can see very clearly, that's an uptrend, right? That's still an uptrend phase 1. It's still consolidating. We did take a short position on here. We got on the sell of the reversal bar. I've done it on TradingView. You guys can take a look at that. Even on the 4-hour traders, as you can see here, as what Gavin was showing that as well. Let me just expand that. Keep adjusting that. You can see the big volume spikes over here on the 4-hour. You can see smart money coming through. Again, the same questions you got to ask yourself, right? Is it starting to fuzz around? Is it starting to shake up? Is it the bottom starting to go and hold? The same questions again. Is the 4-hour going to hold to become a daily bottom? And finally, a weekly bottom to start the trend change. There's a lot of volume spikes, right? And is that correlating with the higher time frames? The final then question is, okay, even if you were to get the 4-hour bottom and a daily and a weekly all right, and trade that all the way towards the upside, if you believe that the probability is towards the upside, where do you then get out? And that is where we looked at 3 different stats. I mean, over here is a bit more quantified. Some of you can use a simpler trailing loss if you want, just keep trailing it. But over here, what we do is we have also measured according to the framework of open equity profit. How much move is left on a probability basis? And that's where we analyze all of these stats. I'm not going to go through much more in detail at the moment. Don't have much time for that, but we'll go through much more in detail in the mentorship course. You can see on a probability basis how much move is left from the dot perspective. From a 50% point, that's 1.25 ATR left over here. Or, from a 20% perspective, if you want to capture bigger moves, then there's about 2.753 ATR left over there. All this is explained in our video series. I mean, most of you have joined our Zoom today. We will add you on to the 7 steps to CTP video series, which actually should look something like that. I think that's ctp.com. I think then so that should look something like that. So we'll add you onto here, and you can watch the videos step by step, and then you guys can take a look at that. All this we explain much more in detail on the open equity and all that. And then strategy construction, we'll go through that much more in detail in the mentorship course, how to marry all of this up together. I think, Gavin, we've covered quite a bit already. As you can see, time as well.
Yeah, I've got a couple of things I want to take a look at for everybody. Dan is asking what time is the mentorship program. It starts same time as we started today, 2 o'clock. Each session goes for about 90 minutes. It's all done online. We'll probably use Zoom, as it seems to be quite good. And I do want to have a look at Walmart. Actually, can I take the screen from you?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, actually, I think Kaltib is asking that, isn't it? WMT,
yeah.
I think. Yeah, that's really good. Yeah.
It's a good one, and it's on my.
Yeah, go for it.
It's one of the stocks that we're actually going to be covering in the course because I trade it. So, and I went long on this, and I actually bought it in there for the fund. Now you can see this could be Tesla all over again, but this time the market bottomed out and the SMI indicators confirmed it. The diamonds or the dots began to turn green. And I was very fortunate because it's exactly what I expect to see in Tesla. It filled the gap, but I bought it right there, and I scale in. So you've even had a test over here. So they're testing this old top. If it breaks out of that, it's gonna keep going. And Walmart, obviously, very solid business, and you can see all the setups here. And the wonderful thing, this applies. I specialize in gold and silver, but I trade the E-minis and the NASDAQ especially, but also the E-mini S&P. And to show you, this is something else we'll cover in the course, is actual live trading of the S&P. That's the weekly chart. That's where the buying came in. Okay, that's the SMI confirmation of the breakout. More buying stepped in, and we're in a bull move, making historic highs. There's never been a better time to trade, which is why the mentorship course we're doing the first week of March or second week of March, I think it is, to give you time to plan for it. And then if we go back to the daily for a second here, you can see the buying here. That's what's causing this bull run. And I don't see any serious weakness. Even today, there's been setups. Yesterday, we had a nice day of long trades. If you put the 4-hour chart up, you can see what happened yesterday or day before yesterday. We can see what we call the spring. But if you don't believe this works, these are all live charts. And we as part of the mentorship program, are going to give you a 50 grand demo account with Tradiac. And basically that means that we can help you in your trading, even when you're not actually in the room, because we'll be able to see what trades you're taking and see if, we've never done that before. It's the first time we've done it. But Tradiac basically, well, we can explain it in the mentorship program, but basically, if you start to make profit, their fund pays you out. So there's no risk. So there's no charge initially for the 50 grand account. I've got 15 of them because we've got 15 places for the event. But there's the buying. Okay. And now there's some great trades to the upside. SMI confirms the buying. Here's your breakout trade. So now we go to Smart Center Pro, which I'll show. I'm not going to show it here. I'm going to show it in the room. And you can start to see where the buying came in today. All right. And it's going back up there now. And then the time frame that I use for intraday, because we will be trading intraday, I like to use the 5-minute chart. There's the buying. Okay. Clearly see it. It tries to find resistance, it does knock it down, but SMI indicators show no, it's going to continue to go up, and that's why it's had an attempt to rally. It's all very, very logical. I'm going to give you all a copy if you're, I think it's that button there. There we go. If you make a note of this, I'll just write that down. I think I can post that in the chat area as well. Let me try. This is called Trading in the Shadow of the Smart Money. It's my first book. I'll put that link in the chat area. Let's just copy it. There you go. You can download it direct from that PDF. No problem at all. And then the details of what Tiru and I are going to be covering, and it's quite, we've spent a lot of time putting this together, so it's going to be a lot of new stuff, by the way, just for those of you that have been on courses with me or with Tiru, a lot of new stuff, but it's really very simple. It's that web page there. It's trade2win.com/mentorship. I think we're emailing this out in the next couple of hours. So we've got 15 places. Okay. And there is an early bird special on here as well for the first, I think it's 5 or 10. I don't know what he's done, but basically here's the dates. Okay. So you've got 4 sessions. The live trading session will probably last 3 or 4 hours because there'll be a lot of trades to take. I make more money on a Tuesday than that. You might say, why not Monday? The markets tests. They test. And so it's not an ideal time to actually do it. We've got a lot of stuff that we're going to cover. Okay, this is just some of it. I mean, Tiru and I have traded together for many years, and you know, we go and look for live trades. I trade 2 live accounts, so it's all live trades. But we recommend that if you're learning this and you're fairly new to it, you open the demo account with Tradiac. Okay, it works on the MT4 platform or MT5, I think, which is free, so you can get that, and then you can basically trade with us and learn as you're going along. I know for a fact, this has just happened to me on the last course that we did. The last one I did, the group course, was about 8 months ago. But a lot of people will copy trade because they just want to trade. I don't recommend that at all because I'm trading a big account. I know Tiru is. So, but what we want to basically do for you is, obviously we've said them here, consistency. Yep. And by the way, just so you know, I've started doing my mentorship courses 22 years ago, and I've probably taught well over 1,000 traders. And I know Tiru's probably very similar. Because he does a lot of the courses. We just actually went to the Society of Technical Analysts in London and had a very successful show. And everything we showed there made total sense. But we want to show you some new stuff that we've put together. Okay. And basically, the price is $14.95. But I think for the first 5, I've just been told, we've got an early bird price there, which closes tomorrow night. So this will go out on to our database, which is just over 20,000. So, you know, I know we'll fill this course for definite because it's not something we've ever done. SMI meets VSA, and as I said, we got a lot of new stuff that we're going to be able to show you. So I'll post that in the room here. Well, actually, you can see it. It's just trade2win.com/mentorship. Okay, pretty easy. All right, Tiru, I think I'm just going to have a look in the chat window. Yeah, you get this. Yeah, called it. Yeah, of course it is. You actually get the recordings of the archive. So anyone that works during the day and can't make it, don't worry. We upload the archive to our private YouTube channel, which you get a password for, so you can view it at any time that you want. Let's just have a look. We've got quite a lot of questions on this. I've just had your email, Steve. Yeah.
The lifetime offer. I think you answered that, didn't you? I think, Gavin.
Yeah. It's basically it's we, you know, this is the first time we've done an event like this. I'm not sure whether I'm going to have time to do a second one, but that's why we're doing it in March. It gives you all time to actually prepare, because the way to prepare it is everyone that signs up is going to get a copy of the trading plans that I'm going to be teaching in this course with Kiru. But we've now added in the SMI over the top of it. And we're going to, to answer the question, I've just got your email. It's, yes, we can look at wheat, we can look at corn, we can look at oil. Yeah, the world's our oyster. I've got data for everything. So, and we'll use the Smart Sensor Pro software and this software. Okay, so I'll be using NinjaTrader with Tiru. Okay, and all the details are on there.
You know what, Gavin, I think as you're going through the questions, maybe I can show them the live trades that are running, right?
Yeah, go ahead. That's fine.
Yeah, and yeah, you can take a look. Guys, basically, I mean, like what we have shown and everything, and not many people will really show you this and all of that. But just to show you that the methodologies work. So we started on just the same like you guys on the Traders Challenge, right? Just proof of concept accounts, yeah? And a lot of our clients have started to come on this as well. Let me see if you all can see I think the screen share is loading, isn't it? Yeah, now you should be able to see this, right? So you can see some of the positions have already been closed. Now on this account, so the small account, we started on 50,000, right? With the Traders Challenge, just to show that the methodologies work based on price and volume, yeah? We started only in about, 3 or 4 weeks ago on this 50K account. But this is based on what we call the 50% open equity strategy, okay? Based on the distance that 50% of runners will get to. And those of you who don't understand open equity, don't worry. As I said, we will add you onto the CTP video course. You will understand that later. In the mentorship course, we'll go through this much more in detail too. Now, on this 50% open equity, we will take the trade off when it gets to the distance that 50% runners run to. As of now, I got a trade running on Euro Yen. Okay, over here, as you can see on Euro Yen over here, I'll come to dollar yen in a minute, but as you see Euro Yen here consolidating a bit, we're still on this trade, trail the stop loss to 160.36. But we haven't put a trade yet because it's still a good runner. It's still showing all good buyer bars. This is how we write the move. We will talk all about this in the mentorship as well. Now, that's what we're doing here on this account. As you can see in our history as well, you can see all the different trades that we have taken as well from before, all losses, all wins. You can see that the wins are much more bigger. It's ridden into a bigger new watermark level at the moment. At the moment, we are at 50,901 realized, but this is running at 180 unrealized at the moment here. Now, on another account, on 100K, we run a bigger, longer trade, okay, 20% open equity, so capturing bigger moves. But remember, with bigger move strategies, it will usually, you need a bit more patience, and sometimes, you might get near to your target, give back all the profits and all of that. So you need a lot of patience to run them, and you need a stronger psychology as well. So over here, as of now, you can see on this 100K account, 20% OE. So we are running a longer term strategy based on volume as well. You can see we have realized 518. We only started this very recently. Then right now we got a unrealized of 814 carrying on over here. This is a bit more lower frequency, but we'll take the trades as they come along. All this we're just showing you just to give you confidence that we are walking the talk, right? Not like most of the traders talk theory, they don't show you real trades, live accounts. We don't do all of that. Even when it goes through drawdown, we'll show you that as well. Because we're just like you. The difference between a professional and an amateur is how he handles the drawdown and how he holds on to his trade with conviction, with logic, and why the strategy must continue to work. All this must be all deciphered and written down and discussed before you come even into the trade. These are all the things we're going to be discussing in the mentorship course. So it's very, very highly invaluable. Between me and Gavin, you got about 60, 70 years of experience combined. I mean, it makes us look old, but we're not. But just gives you the invaluable amount of experience that you guys are going to get in the mentorship. The final thing is I'll leave you with, you see, the most important thing, traders, is, the dollar yen, we are writing it here. Target is about here. The most thing is that most traders get panic about is, I'm so near the target, should I get out? But now I'm losing it all back. Why am I holding on to this? These are the questions that we will be answering in the mentorship, because you see, Even if you get out right now, what if tomorrow it does this and hits your target? Will you be gutted? Or even if it didn't get so near to target, let's say if it got here and then it started to come against you, but then after that it shot up to the target. How do you answer the question of what is the probability of it getting there? How do you start thinking in terms of law of numbers? How do you hold on to your strategy rules? How do you get the conviction for that? All this is what we'll be talking about in the mentorship. Okay, I think that's pretty much what we said. As I said before, I'll just reiterate. We'll send you the 7 steps to consistent trading performance, as Glenn has already posted it there, and you guys can understand the concepts a bit more deeper as well. And also, Gavin, is there a book that they can also read from yours as well for those YouTube people who are listening in and everything?
Yeah, sorry, say that again, too.
Is there like a book that they can read on the overall basis of volume and all of that? I know you got the Smart Money book. Is that the one you usually recommend to people?
Yeah, I would also recommend a book called Master the Markets, which will be part of the course. Okay, funnily enough, when I first met you, I thought you've copied Tom's book name.
Yeah.
But you didn't. It was a complete coincidence. But Tom's book is called Master the Markets. That will be we're selling it, I think, for $99 as a PDF. But everyone who comes on the course will get that book. And in fact, as soon as you sign up, that'll be your first port of call to start reading before you even get to. You can download my book, but Tom's book is where it all started. It's 25 years old. Oh no, 35 years old.
Wow.
But all the stuff that's in there is as relevant today as it was, back in the day of Wyckoff. We're going to be talking a lot in this course about Wyckoff, and because I've taken some excerpts from his Magazine of Wall Street and I'm going to provide those as a PDF. Dan, hello, Dan and Scott. I can see you guys are in here. I just spoke to Richard. Yeah, if you, I'll email you a link. Basically, we'll give you an extra 15% off because you're an investor in the company. So and I've had another investor just email me as well, saying the same thing, because this is a brand new course. We've never done anything like this. So, and a lot of it will be showing you how we trade in Wyckoff Williams investments, what we do and how we do it. Because, I haven't even touched on today the trade alerts that we've got and the scanners that we scan 53,000 stocks internationally for the same setups I've just been showing you. It's so powerful. And, if you go back and look.
I mean, I must definitely say the scanner is incredible, Gavin, especially if they combine it with the SMI, the single market compression setups. I think we're really onto a winner, big winners.
Well, we are. Let me just take the screen from you if you can.
Yeah.
I'll just finish off on this note because it's going to be an important part of the course. And let's just click on that. Share. Let's put that down. Okay. So first of all, we've got our intraday alerts. This is for futures and Forex, going from as small as a 1 minute time frame up to the hourly and even bigger time frames. We've got a stocks alert for stocks all around the world, which tells you what the index is. Okay, so we cover all of these markets, and it tells you the alert type, and it's all based on, and it gives you a take profit target as well and a suggested stop loss. The computer does it all for you. Very, very, very powerful thing. And, when we look at the other thing, the stocks, we've got stocks everything. I'm not going to show it here now, actually, because we've just brought several of the top stocks on the alerts, and they look for that exact setup that I was showing you. On Walmart, it's the same thing. Okay, so there's your Walmart setup. So what happens is, when this gets penetrated and the first test, it'll send you an email to your chosen email account. Okay, so you if you believe in this, is a money-making opportunity. And the last, I do one-to-one mentorship as well, right, which is much more personalized. It's more expensive, but it's one-to-one. We'll send some details out about that. But the nice thing about the course that Tira and I have put together, it's highly interactive. Okay, you're going to be able to ask questions. You're going to be able to open your mics, meet other people, and we're going to find, I'm sure, that we'll be doing a live event. I've been invited to speak over in Saudi Arabia, where we've got our good friend Mustafa. That's going to be a great event. We're hoping to come over in mid-April. I'm just trying to work out the scheduling of it. And Mustafa and I, as I mentioned earlier, are doing a specific course on the Middle East markets and crude oil and gold, because we both like to trade those. Right, well, I'm nearly lost my voice, but not quite. Let's just see if there's any further questions, Tiru. If not...
Yeah, if not, I think we can do a close up there. But you know what? Just to give you guys a background as well. I mean, hats off really to Gavin. I mean, the amount of passion that we all have for this is incredible. I mean, Gavin was quite down with a cold and a flu, as you can hear from his voice. But you know what? He was telling me yesterday, you know what, Tiro, but I'm up and ready to go. We really need to serve these people, and I've already taken my medication. I can feel my energy, and this is not me just lying around in bed. I'm just this guy full of passionate energy, and I really love the markets, and we got to carry on with the webinar. And here he is. I mean, really, hats off to him. I mean, not to even postpone this and still carry on with it. And this is the amount of passion that we actually carry on forward over here, both of us over here, that we have for the markets, and keeps us giving us a stamina to keep going forward. This is the people that you're with, and you'll be joining us on even in the mentorship, and you're really in good hands when you can learn all this principles and from this research that we've done for many years. I guess traders, if there isn't anything else, I think we've looked at all of the questions. If there's any others, anything more, I think Glenn can post the message. You can always contact us by email, and we can do a one-to-one if it's really necessary. But other than that, if there are no other questions, I'm thinking about time as well. I think we will do a wrap up and a close up over here. I mean, my final points, what I would say before the wrap up would be, think always in terms of, firstly, define your trend and your phase as the main takeaways for this webinar, I would say, and then do your time frame correlation analysis. And the last thing I would say is think open equity. Think always before you take a trade, how much move is left. We'll discuss this much more in detail and depth on the mentorship course. Gavin, just to close off, any last lines and thoughts from you?
I would say something. I'm in the process of finishing off the third book that I'm writing. If you want to have a sneak preview about what the sort of things I'm talking about, which I'm going to talk about in detail at the mentorship program, then read chapter 9 of the book. Okay, just read chapter 9. That explains everything. Tira and I are on exactly the same page with this. Is if you want to be successful in life, and especially in trading, you've got to have a strong belief system and a passion for this. And yes, I've got COVID. I tested positive for it on Monday. And so I was extremely ill yesterday, and I was thinking we may have to, you can probably tell in my voice if you listen to me, I'm losing it. But that's not a problem, because it's been a great event today. We've shown you some really good setups here. And, I know that coming into March, it's going to be really, really, really busy. If you've got questions directly for me, you can email tradeguider@outlook.com. Okay, and that's where, again, if you're watching this on YouTube and you want to get a copy of the second book, it's got a value of $99 as well, like Tom's book. So it's just Trade Guider.
Yeah, maybe Glenn can type it in as well, maybe.
I've done it.
Oh, you done it?
Outlook.com. Yeah. There you go, guys. All right, that's directly to my wife, Laura. And if you're watching this on YouTube, if you want to get a copy of the book, Trading in the Shadow of the Smart Money with my compliments, it's a PDF, it's full color. You can either read it off an iPad, which is what some people do, or you can print it, which is what most people do. It takes up about one printer cartridge. It's not too bad. That's it from me. I think everyone, we've kept a big audience here. That's great to see. Hope you've all enjoyed it. I'm going to go and have my Lemsip now and my fresh orange juice and my Sambucol, which is a very strong, it's basically black elderberry, and it gets rid of a cold or COVID. I don't know if it's going to get rid of COVID straight away, but I'm going to go and take that, and I am going to go and lie down now because I'm knackered.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's definitely a well-deserved rest. Definitely.
Yeah. Anyway, I'll call you later on.
All right, no problems, Gavin. All right, guys, thanks everyone for coming. And as we always say, till the next time, stay disciplined, follow your trading plan, and keep trading like a master. We'll close off the webinar here.